relocating is a luxury. Why is that? One, when you're relocating to Kenya, it's an upgrade. You're not going backwards. This is an upgrade from where you're coming from. Why am I saying that? The cost of living, you're going to pay a fraction of the price.
Yes.
Your health care is going to be better. Education for your kids, diverse and better curriculum. Safety, the quality of life, peace, joy, and integrative family connected with your roots. That's an upgrade.
What's good, Ken Ganda? This is your boy, Shay Duke Jackson, back with another episode of the Repat Podcast. I'm currently in the great city of Nairobi, Kenya, and we have one of the Repat OGs with us who's going to talk about her experience relocating, and that is
Kea Simmons.
Kea!
Yes.
It's been a long time.
Yes.
I've never met you before physically.
Right. Yes.
You're still very beautiful in person.
Thank you.
Like the, Instagram. But reverse culture.
Yes.
You changed your name, but I was like, but I've interviewed you before.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And what you had another
Worldviews. Yes.
Okay. So at that particular time, you were offering. I think you were the ones that brought Phil to Kenya the first time, right?
Correct.
Okay. So you were offering Senegal.
Yeah. Jamaica, Kenya. Our Gullah Geechee tours in South Carolina. We did. We were looking at South Africa. A few places. Yes.
Okay. What drew you to the country? Because you do some interesting things here.
Yeah.
Doing way more stuff than I'm doing in Uganda. But tell me about what drew you here to Nairobi.
Yeah. Oh, to Nairobi
or Kenya in general.
To Kenya. Yeah. So I get asked that all the time, and essentially, my coworker who I was working with in Afghanistan in 2011 met my first Kenyan, and he was telling me about how great Kenya was, and I was like, man, I gotta go one day. And anyway, bought the ticket and ended up coming to Kenya, landed at Moi, and was like, what? We have been lied to, bamboozled, and hoodwinked. Okay. This place is awesome. Okay. And then once I started engaging with Kenyans, I was like, these people are awesome. And so anyway, that's really what made me fall in love with Kenya, is the people. I always say that every time, the people. You
are the first African-American that I have even saw talk, like before anybody, now it's getting popular.
This is true, yes.
We're going to go ahead and give you your flowers.
Thank you.
You were the first that I saw.
Thank you.
Right? I think you were even in Kenya, or at least promoting Kenya before. I came to Uganda in 2017.
Yeah.
So I think you even preceded me in that.
In 2011, yes.
Okay. So you were coming, doing tour. When was your first tour?
2018.
2018 was your first tour to Kenya?
Correct.
Okay, and how did that go?
Amazing. We had an amazing time, and we did, 2019, excuse me. Correction. We started in 2018. But the first big tour was 2019 with Phil Scott of African Diaspora News Channel. And we loved it. It was perfect. It went absolutely great, and it just took off from there.
Yeah, I saw him on several, I don't know if it was that trip or the before, but he was on several TV shows and things like that.
Exactly. So they've been here twice with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were in the United States and kind of doing, which is what I've also done, like leaving, coming back and leaving.
Yep.
And coming back.
Yeah.
And so how was that process? Because we see so many people, I know you're bringing a lot of people over here now.
Yeah.
And they're just wanting to make the move. But some of us older folk in East Africa, I've had to leave and come back over 20 times, something like that.
Yep.
How was that so important in getting, your foot on the ground versus just trying to stay?
That's a good question. Because typically, to be quite honest, first you have to be financially stable.
Preach!
To move here permanently.
Preach!
And so it takes time.
Okay.
And you have to make sure that you have your house in order in the States, especially moving from the States. And, we're kind of that, we are a debt-driven country. So typically most of us are in debt. And we can't afford to just pick up and move and be able to sustain ourselves here where everything revolves around cash. Only. You only pay for what you can afford. Okay. So for me, because I am a mom, shout out to my son.
Okay.
And I'm super close to my family, and I just had some other stuff going on. I couldn't just pick up and just move, but I also needed to integrate myself over time. Build me a trustworthy team. I don't think that you could be successful in any business that you're doing over here without a team, because they are your guardrails. And we don't speak the language. We don't speak fluent Kiswahili. And so it does make it a bit difficult to navigate on your own. So for me, it was building relationships, building my network, making sure that I'm creating ways to sustain myself financially, and then make that move, that strategic business move.
Okay. So sustaining yourself financially, I want to come to that. But let's go back to building a team.
Yeah.
Because that is a challenge, I think, for anybody in the repat world, especially those of us who, I see like some of the Somalians and the Eritreans, they have a little bit of an easier time to do that because they're united by either culture or religion or both.
Correct.
And us coming over, it's kind of a solo mission, and we have to try to build some level of trust with the people we're building our team with.
Right.
So how did you go through the process of building amazing team to support what you're doing?
Yeah, so it is trial and error, to your point. And making sure that you align it with people who understand the end goal, who are not willing to compromise the agenda. And then you have to study the culture. And so one of the things that I've learned with Kenyans, the best way that you can get the best out of your team or that relationship building is giving them stake in the game. If they can have a piece of the pie.
Incentivizing.
Yeah, incentivizing what it is that you're doing, and also creating that family kind of business culture is where I've seen me be successful. And then what you end up seeing is that they end up buying into the dream more than you and working as hard as you do. And so being able to identify those things, and it's hard because I had to fire my first team, every last person. I had to fire them and rebuild again.
Okay, so you gave some good nuggets about giving the piece of the pie, but before I get into the piece of the pie, did you feel like you'd made some errors too in the first time that you had to fire those individuals? Yeah. What mistakes did you make?
It's going to sound really funny. I was overpaying, like ridiculously. And it spiraled out of control because people was like, I need more. And I'm like, hey, yo, I'm paying y'all like stateside prices for real. And not even paying attention to the Kenyan labor law and all this other stuff and the pay scale and all of it. It's just started to be like, we need more. And I know that's going to sound a little bit crazy. But where did I make that mistake? Why I thought it was a mistake is because people started to try to take advantage because they understood I didn't know.
Okay. Let's go back to the whole piece of the pie, because let me just say this: like in Uganda, if you go to the Investment Authority website, but you can see like they can recommend what starting salaries are in a certain area.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
They may say something like 300,000 or 400,000 shillings a month, which is about $100 a month. And logically, a person cannot sustain themselves.
Correct.
With that. But you have said that you give them a piece of the pie. And you've noticed by doing that, they buy into the dream and they innovate the dream more than you ever thought.
Heck yeah.
Okay, because that's important for those people who are coming, because they may think I can get labor for cheap, but then that labor...
You get what you pay for.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I pay my team in USD only. And we started off with hourly pay. Normally don't get that here. So if they work 16 hours, they got paid their rate for 16 hours.
Okay.
That's pretty good pay for a local Kenyan.
Okay.
And so now we're on salary. So regardless if they work today or tomorrow, they get paid their salary in USD. We also pay them welfare. Make sure that we cover their welfare.
What is included in welfare?
Their communication, transportation, and something else. I can't.
Okay, something like that. Okay.
I have HR, so she take care of it. But just making sure that even if I can't do something, I'm communicative. Excuse me, with them. We went this year for our first team building trip to Diani. Making sure that I'm also giving back to them so that they know that the work that they're doing is I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's important. I hate to be critical of what I see in the East African market, but that is unlike what I see from employers, mostly in Uganda or even Kenya.
Okay.
When I come across African entrepreneurs in the market that are successful, they will complain about people are not doing X, Y, and Z. But maybe it's different in Kenya, I'm not sure. But in Uganda, I know a lot of people like, oh, well, this person should be glad to have a job because so many people are unemployed. So you should be glad that you're working for me. And you notice that the business doesn't grow. The way that the person is interacting with customers is poor.
Yep.
And then they'll complain about the person, and they have the money to pay the individual.
Correct. Yes.
But they just don't want to do that. So your retention in your business with people that are working for you, what have you noticed since you've done those things?
I have a low turnover rate.
Okay.
My oldest employee has been with me for 7 years.
Okay.
She is the core of the company and helping me build the team. She is currently building us a team in Mombasa. I have gotten to the place because I have allowed them to take on their positions to where I can actually be a CEO. So I don't know operations, the back of operations like I used to because I was hands in.
Right.
But now my team take care of it. It's so bad to where if I step on their toes, they have to be like, Ms. Wakesha, you relax. We got this.
Right.
And I respect their space. Like I just had a conversation with my operations director. Shout out to Mora, about building out the Mombasa team and some other things. And I said, from now on, I'm not going to suggest anything because I almost messed up their operations the other day. And so I said, I'm going to step back and I'm going to allow you all to do what you do because you know what you're doing. You actually have been relocating people while I was in the States. So while my face is on it, my team, I built the product. Don't get me wrong. I built the product. I trained them logistically. I also trained them how to deal with expats. Okay. Right? Because there's a difference between getting service with a local Kenyan company and being serviced by a US-based company in Kenya. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
And so I trained them, whatever. They learned it and they have, to your point, have surpassed what I've taught them, what I've implemented with the programs that I came up with, like my 120-day relocation integration program. All of those things they now do, and I don't have to have my hands in on it. Yeah.
Let's talk about the challenge of, because we had a brief conversation on the phone. I won't share all of it, you said that things have gotten about 300 to 400% better since you have been on ground.
Correct.
Okay. So now people are listening and saying, well, hey, they've been relocating because you're going to have somebody that there's a lot of people who want to have, what do you call those kind of businesses where absentee ownership?
Yes.
A lot of Africans do that a lot where they own the business, but they're not involved in the business. Okay. And then some people could take what you're saying for granted that, oh, you were not there, but they were relocating people. So obviously this is absentee ownership. So I don't have to be involved. But you also said, because you both can be true at the same time, but the person may not understand it.
Correct.
You were here.
Yes.
And since you were here, things have gotten better.
Yep.
So how can both of those things happen for somebody out there who could misconstrue what you were saying?
So in terms of, I was hands in, but virtually. I'm not on the ground moving the people around, doing the daily operations. I wasn't on the ground for all of them.
Yes.
Obviously, I had to be here for some to train and things like that. But then what I did notice is I would lose momentum because I am the face of the business. And people trust the business because I am American.
Before you say American, is it the diaspora trusts you more because you're an American.
Correct.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, the diaspora.
Okay.
I use American because not all of our clients are Americans.
Okay.
As
Where
well.
do some of the other people come
Continental Africans. We just relocated a family from South Africa to Kenya. She's Malawian. Shout out to Miss Dua. The secret is already out, so I think she'll let me say it. But she is the daughter of the former president of Malawi. And so we relocated her from South Africa to Kenya. So shout out to Miss Dua. But so not all of our clients are African American diasporans.
Okay, but the majority will be.
Majority will be, yes. Mm-hmm. And so the two things can be true. Yes. I was able to work hands in virtually, but now I'm more hands in now that I'm on the ground.
Okay,
but not as much as I probably was virtually, because again, it's a how do you say it? A well-oiled machine now. Mm-hmm. And so again, I don't have to be on the daily ins and outs. So like we had a client that come in the other day, and she's here for an investigative tour. That's a hot ticket now.
Yeah.
Our investigative tours. By the way, we're the only ones that's doing that, by the way.
Okay.
And so I met her the day of, and I probably won't see her until she come back, because the team is handling. She's actually in Mombasa as well.
Okay.
With one of our concierge specialists.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, because most people, if they are, not working in the States online or something like that, if they want to become some level of entrepreneur, then you're here, whether you have a product in the state, like I'm a content creator. Mm-hmm. So I have my studio within 2 countries.
Yeah.
And we're creating content for a worldwide audience.
Yeah.
So, but if a person hasn't been an entrepreneur before, and you're coming into this market, what are some of the challenges that you think an African American or somebody from the diaspora who may have been successful in the business, and now you are starting the business, what are some of the challenges that you feel like they would have? Expectations
are kind of warped in terms of the amount of capital that you may or may not need.
Ooh, great point. Great point.
Would it take to actually register a company and actually become an investor and get an investor's permit and the capital to do so? That costs money. A lot of people don't do feasibility studies, so we have to figure out what type of services you are providing. Is your audience still from the U.S. or are your audience going to be local? Now that's going to be a whole nother beast, because now you're going to be competing with the local market, and then you're going to be making money in shillings. So then you also have to see if this is feasible for you or conducive for the new lifestyle that you're looking for here in Kenya specifically. But the feasibility study is a big one that people just overlook. They feel like, I've literally had a conversation with someone who paid for our consultation.
Yes.
They were already here. And
wait. What's that look? Did you give me?
Yeah, because it's crazy, because a lot of people are doing that because they're getting misinformation.
Okay.
That they could just pick up and move to Nairobi, one of the most expensive cities in Africa at this point. You will cut your cost. Don't get me wrong. You'll cut your cost by moving here, but it's not as cheap as people think it is, or it's just doable for you to just come and have $10,000 and think you're going to make it with $10,000. That's not going to work. So they were already here, already sold all this stuff. And I'm talking and they're like, yeah, I want to start a business. I need to get my investor's permit. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, so that's $100K that you have to invest into a local company. And then the fees by itself is about $10,000. He's like, oh, Kenya shillings. No.
Dollars.
That's USD.
Yes.
What? I thought, right. I said, did you already sell everything? Yes. First thing we need to do is try to get you a digital remote job or something, because you're not going to be able to sustain yourself here. You're not. You spend money every day here.
Whoa.
Yeah. So those are some of the challenges. I think people have misinformation.
Okay, so let's talk about this, because shout out to you. You were the first now I see, Austin is here.
Shout out to Austin.
I remember Austin was deciding where he was going to say, so you got to pick someplace. And he was like, I'm really feeling Nairobi. So I'm seeing him. Shout out to brother Kevin.
Yeah.
Kevin is
shout
Kevin
out to
Morrison.
Kevin. Yes.
He saw me out at Art Cafe. He invited me there. That's how I ended up seeing you.
Yep.
Okay. And so we see like Nairobi and Kenya as a country is becoming a big thing with African-American community, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And so now what I tend to see when we talked about like Dar es Salaam or Tanzania in 2020 with COVID, then the Gambia.
Yeah.
And now Nairobi 2024, it's now hot.
Yeah.
And so then you start to see people with consultation businesses.
Sure.
Because, people start, having, hey, we can do a tour. And I'm starting to see that now.
Yes.
So how does a person engage as to, in your opinion, which person is given the best information or which person is not? What are some of the red flags you would feel?
Oh, yeah. What I will say is, humbly, Traverse Culture and I will shout out Diaspora Freedom Initiative are two companies that actually do hands-in relocation. We do not do referral-based anything. And in fact, Diaspora Freedom Initiative is he has a more robust program than mine because he assists you with the relocation and your trust fund is included in that. Asset protection and all of the legal. Oh, no. Shout out to John. Oh,
he's
yeah.
Here.
Oh, yeah. He's in Diani.
Okay.
And so him and I are partners.
Okay.
And so shout out to Diaspora Freedom Initiative. But the red flags are if you do not have a team, a Kenyan team that's working with you, you do not know what you're doing. I can guarantee you're not getting the best prices. You don't speak Swahili. You don't know how to negotiate. You don't know the right places to go for your clients. The other part is if you've only been in Nairobi a year, you don't know enough.
Okay. Fair.
You know what I mean? And then the red flag for me, but the biggest thing is the red flag. If you are not employing local Kenyans and you are solely trying to do it by yourself, you're going to make it very hard for you to relocate somebody correctly.
Okay.
In a country that you're not from.
Okay. Let's talk about local partnerships. Let's say I know you have a partnership with this brother from Freedom Initiative.
Yeah.
But do you have any partnerships with some businesses in Nairobi and Kenya?
Correct.
Okay. So the reason why I'm asking that is because the longer that I stay here, the longer that I need to partner with, maybe a bigger international company and some assets for the Pan-African Dating Show or whoever else.
Yep.
And so sometimes I come against some struggles in the local market, even if that individual or individuals are, international based, you're still dealing with people that's there managing that.
Correct.
So how do you establish partnerships with people in the local market, whether it's small business or bigger business? I saw you have a governmental partnership too.
With Nairobi Hospital, the Nairobi Hospital.
So how do you establish those local partnerships in to try to win?
My team.
Yeah. Okay, your team does that.
My team. I do it. I of course I identify who I want to work with, but they are my guardrails. How
do you identify who you want to work with?
It's just based on what I'm trying to do. So for the Nairobi Hospital, shout out to the Nairobi Hospital. We love them. Just studying because we're certified medical tourism facilitators. And so now we do medical tourism inbound to Kenya. Okay. And so just studying that industry and finding out what are the best hospitals based off of the level of the hospital. So if it's a level 6, level 7, are they JCI accredited? Or what are the international accreditation, But then you also got to talk to the local people because they're going to tell you the truth about the hospitals.
Okay.
They're going to tell you the truth about whatever business it is that you're trying to do business with. And again, that's where I have to kind of rely on my team.
Okay.
Because I've made mistakes.
Okay.
And they've had to fix it.
Yes. Me too.
Yeah.
Like every day.
Big time.
But
no. Trust me.
Okay.
I still make mistakes.
So let's talk about partnerships. Like, I think that Kenya is a very collaborative in comparison to Uganda.
Absolutely.
So when you want to work with the partner, I've noticed this. If I want to reach out to somebody in the Uganda business community, this is not all the time, but I've noticed this. that sometimes people will take it as, oh, well, you need me, so we'll agree to the partnership, but then it becomes a disparity in effort. So have you noticed that in Kenya too, when you want to reach out and establish, and they'll agree to it, and all of a sudden they're not taking the partnership seriously?
Yes.
Okay, give me an example of that. I didn't tell the story, but I mean the company.
I mainly dealt with that mainly with the government.
Okay.
You know, we ain't gonna get into that. But you know, I've dealt with that with the government, not so much with the private sector, but let me think. Okay, so even when we were dealing with the medical tourism, that was, you know, it took time. But shout out to Nairobi, shout out to Aga Khan, AAR, the hospitals that we're working with, specifically Nairobi. They got to the point where they were tired of, like, you know what I mean, going back and forth. It's like, all right, now at what point are we gonna sign this contract?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like they started, but what you also do with Kenyans are show me people too. Mm-hmm. So it's like we showed them that even through our relocation program, we were bringing all our guests there.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
We're showing you that we are actually doing medical tourism and using your medical facilities through our relocation program.
Okay.
We're the only company to offer full VIP medical healthcare plan through our relocation program. So we were able to show them.
Okay, let's talk about that, because a lot of people don't understand that you're going to be in a new place and what you did in America doesn't really matter.
Correct.
You're going to prove yourself all over again.
Yep.
Okay, and you're starting from zero. And for somebody like mid-30s, early 40s, you built your whole life establishing yourself in America.
Yeah.
And then nobody knows you here.
Correct.
And you're proving yourself, first of all, to your employees.
Yep.
And then to the greater market.
Yep.
I know that could be challenging, especially with our attitude, because we don't like being, you know, played around or pulled around. And that will happen.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure in Kenya, but that happens in Uganda.
Yes.
How are you able to keep your professional composure when somebody is not taking accountability after they promised something and didn't deliver it?
Yeah.
But you still need that person. You still need that entity, whether that entity gives you some level of accreditation or what's the word I'm looking for? Legitimacy. And they're not accountable for their mistakes. So instead of, you know, because I've went off on people before.
Yeah, me too.
So how do you refrain from that when the person is not doing what they said they're going to do, but you still need this partner because it will legitimize you and it will take you further in the future?
My team.
Okay.
I vent to my team and be like, hey, you need to call them and tell them this is ridiculous. And see, my team are working with me long enough so they know when I'm irritated. And if I'm irritated and I get on you, now they got to make something happen. So I'm ex-military too. So I do like a lot of things a certain kind of way. And so again, I got to go back to my team. If I get frustrated, I will vent to them and they'll get on it and make it happen. Because if I go yell at them, that aggression does not work in Kenya. That it works against you.
And now, as a female also, do you think it also...
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about that.
So I've done that where I've literally went into meetings and I'm like, we got to get this done. I'm talking like that. And they're just looking like, yes, we're gonna sign it. Yes, we'll get back to you. And this culture is very passive aggressive. Kenyans don't come for me in the comment section. But
it's like Uganda,
yeah, very passive aggressive. So instead of telling me up front, no, I got to email you 70,000 times for you to be like, oh yeah, no, we're not gonna go with that. You know what I mean? So I've learned the hard way because you also have to adjust yourself. You know, a lot of Americans and they feel they're entitled. We do come off as entitled people if you don't relearn or immerse and integrate into the local community. Sometimes it will work against you, especially I'll go get our aggressiveness. Let's get it done now. That's not how it works here. It really is Hakuna Matata. Like, just take your time. And so I try to find that equal balance by leaning on my team to guide me too. Sometimes I just go ahead and do it and it'll work in my favor. But sometimes I have to lean on my team and be like, hey, yo, what should I do? Should we go there? And they'll be like, no, Miss Waukesha, we'll take care of it for you and we'll get it done. Okay.
You said you have your business grown 300% since you've been here. And, you know, we talk about Africa, we talk about opportunity, to grow.
Yeah.
So when you look at Kenya, what do you think the opportunity to grow is for you in the next 10 years?
Wow. Man, massive growth. Right now, the majority of our clients are U.S., and then some of the Kenyan diasporans are hitting us up as well.
Okay.
For relocation, travel, medical tourism, things like that, business development. But locally, I mean, we are now going to open up a luxury spa in December here. And the luxury market here is, I mean, booming because contrary to some other countries, developing countries, Kenya has a very strong middle class. It's very visible. And so even when we have our clients who say, I want to live like a local, well, most locals are middle class. So yeah, you're not coming in living like, you know what I mean? And so for me, tapping into the local market and being able to garner you local consumers is definitely a huge market for agriculture. Forget about it. Processing of agricultural goods is something. Manufacturing is huge. Tourism is always going to be there. There's really, really unique ways to go about tourism, like the young lady you had on your podcast before.
Yes.
Love her. She has a unique way to go about tourism. And a plethora of things, healthcare, education. There's just so many opportunities. Forget about it. Kenya is the frontier right now. Nairobi for sure.
When you talk about like, now I know you have some problems, maybe collaborating with people in partnerships.
Yep.
But just collaborating in the Nairobian business community, how has that been for you, and how has
it's been good? Like all of the hotels that we are in partnership, has been really, really good. You met one of she was at the network. Shout out to Mary George, the big boss over there at Holiday and Two Rivers and Fairmount. They treat us like royalty.
Really? Oh, she was there.
She was there. Yeah, you met her. She was there. She had the short haircut.
Was I drunk already?
Probably.
I don't think so.
Or maybe you left. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, but she was at the networking event. They treat us like royalty. All of the vendors that we work through and with through our tourism part of what we do, the travel part that we do, have been amazing. Even just dealing with local vendors in Kibra. We use a driver school in Kibra for our relocation program.
Okay. For Americans to come back and learn how to drive.
Correct. That's a part of our relocation program.
That's great.
Yeah, we help them transfer their license from stateside to Kenya. Like, no. We have a very, very robust. No one has it except John. John doing his thing.
We don't have any gun at all.
In terms of Nairobi Traverse Cultures is the only company to offer 120-day relocation integration services that have all those components.
Okay.
Household goods shipment, the shipment companies that we've been working with, absolutely amazing. We do house manager sourcing. We're partnered with a company that help us help our clients interview the people that they're going to be having coming in the house and clean and cook and things like that. Oh yeah, we do all of that. The schools, we're in partnership with a few schools so that if we have to enroll children that are moving here to Kenya, they've been excellent. So no, it's been really, really good. Again, while I am the owner and founder of the company, again, I lean on my team. I cannot say that enough. Yes.
Okay, so you have a tour. How often do you have tours here?
Yeah, so every month we have group tours available. Here lately, group travel has not even been a thing. It's been relocation and investigative tours. And then, of course, we have the JBE coming up, the Journey Back to Eden.
Okay, when is that?
December.
Last thing I would say is, if you're African-American and you want to move to Kenya or interested, what are the steps you give?
Yeah.
What would you give somebody?
So the first thing that I do is we have to find out your mindset, especially diasporans. Conditioning is a thing. And so what we don't want you to do is jump off the porch and you're absolutely not ready to relocate. Relocating is a luxury. Why is that? One, when you're relocating to Kenya, it's an upgrade. You're not going backwards. This is an upgrade from where you're coming from. Why am I saying that? The cost of living, you're going to pay a fraction of the price.
Yes.
Your health care is going to be better. Education for your kids, diverse and better curriculum. Safety, the quality of life, peace, joy, and integrative family connecting with your roots. That's an upgrade.
Yes.
And so with that, it costs.
Okay.
Right? And so the first thing we do is to identify your motivation for relocating. Then the second thing is, can you sustain yourself? If you cannot, you disqualify right there. We will not relocate you, because what we're not going to do is set you up for failure, and then have you move to the country and become a liability.
Right, and then start blaming you.
And start blaming me or the country as a problem.
Okay.
And you need to be an asset to a developing country.
Preach.
As opposed to a liability.
Preach.
Yes.
I wish I had an organ, I would get on it.
Yeah, right. And so once we identify those two things and you don't qualify, we're done. But if you qualify for those things, then we have to find out if you qualify to be legally in the country.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
What if I don't qualify, right? You say I don't qualify.
Yeah.
And if I say, listen, maybe I don't qualify now.
Yes.
But I can work on myself.
Yes.
And come back and be qualified.
Correct.
So what if I don't qualify right now?
Yeah, you can come back.
Okay, so what would you tell me I need to do to be qualified?
Yeah, so if you can't sustain yourself, we need to find out some financial ways to sustain yourself.
Okay.
You might need to create a business before arriving here, so that you can build up, you know what I mean, your credibility and some money coming in, or you create an LLC in the States. Now they have the digital nomad permit. So you can literally live and work here on the digital nomad with your own LLC in the States. So there's other options to get you prepared. We just need to have that in advance.
Okay, good. So you can still work with me if I don't qualify, but
yes.
I can work on myself in the States and become
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. So let's say if I do qualify, then what?
Yeah, so then we have to identify which permit that you qualify for, because we don't want to be relocating people and having them in the country illegally, like being on a tourist visa, living permanently.
Going out the country, coming back.
Yeah, you
take my passport to the border.
Right, and here's the thing: Kenya is becoming more digital as the day go by, and so immigration is now tracking these things, and so we got to make sure that you're not living here permanently on a tourist visa.
That happens a lot.
That can catch up with you when you do get yourself in a position to apply for a permanent permit or visa. They could be tracking and being like, "Hey, hold on, you've been here for some odd." We denying it,
right?
Because you've already been living in the country illegally. Right. So then we identify: can we get you in the country legally? Then we proceed with the process of identifying whether you need household goods shipment. We supply a 30-day temporary housing while you do our 30-day integration program, where every day for 30 days we're integrating you in different sessions of our relocation program.
Oh,
so
wow.
One of those things is our permanent home finding process. We offer 3 real estate tours within your 30 days, and we show you between 9 to 15 properties tailored to your needs and your budget. We also do the VIP medical. So we also we take you on tours of 3 of the hospitals that we're in partnership with. You sit down with the head doctor, nurses. We identify your primary care doctor, your dentist, OBGYN specialist, all of those things. And then we also help you get life insurance, health insurance, things of that nature, so on and so forth. But it's an entire experience once you get here. We just don't just drop you off, because that's not relocation. Anybody could find a place to stay on Airbnb. That's not relocation.
Okay.
We take care of your immigration. It's a whole program.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you dropped a lot of gems.
Sorry.
You know, we're the only one with the Repat podcast. I can't be like her, but we're the only Repat podcast so far.
Yeah.
So we love to talk to people who have, I would say like this, we don't have this in Uganda, and it's way advanced. Like what you're telling me is, I'm like, wow, these are some of the things that we don't have in Uganda at all. And so I can tell you really, really thought about this.
Yep.
And where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find us on tverse.com, at our website. You can also find us at all of our social media handles, Traverse Culture with a Z. You can also call us at our 1-800 number that's located on our website, and email us if you have any questions. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was a great episode. We out.